Hi, it's good to be back. I've been on vacation for a week and then I had to rest after the vacation, so it's been a while. As my grandson says in his small voice, I am back. Anyhow, today I'm gonna read from this book. The Secret Language of Symbols by David Fontana. A visual key to symbols and their meanings. It's a fairly comprehensive book, but it covers a lot of symbols, it covers a lot of meanings, but it has a very short description of every symbol. And I will start with a symbol that was requested after my last video. I asked what people want to hear about, and one of the symbols that was asked for was Lotus. So here's a little drawing. As I said, it's very kind of short descriptions and small drawings here in the book. Before I read about the lotus, I will read about flowers and plants in general. The Greeks believed that paradise was carpeted with asphodels. The Chinese imagined that for each woman living in this world, a flower bloomed in the next. These two ancient beliefs exemplify the most common symbolic meanings of the flower, the paradisal state and feminine beauty. The opening of the flower from the bud represents creation, the manifestation of energy moving outward from the center, and the energy of the sun. Flowers are universal symbols of youth and vitality, but because of their impermanence, they also connote fragility. Plants represent the cycle of life, fertility, death, and rebirth. And here is the lotus. So the lotus is the flower of India, and it's a very sacred symbol for Buddhists and Hindus. Growing in mud at the bottom of a pond, the lotus flower raises itself above the water and reveals its beauty. It thus stands for the soul rising from the confusion of matter into the clarity of enlightenment. So that's what it says here in this book, but I have a little bit more to say about the flower as I did my research about lotus. Lotus was sacred for Egyptians, and you can see a lot of paintings on Egyptian walls with the flower of blue lotus, because the blue lotus is what grows in the Nile. And the Egyptians believed that because lotus every morning rose from the waters to meet the sunlight and opened up to the sunlight, and then with dawn it would close and go under the water and disappear under the water, only to rise again above the waters next day. It represented the cycle of life and the cycle of sun rising and going down. In India, lotus is pink lotus or white lotus, so it's beautiful, beautiful flower, clean, rising every day from the waters. No mud touches it, but the root of it is deep, deep underwater in the mud, growing from the bottom of the lake or pond. And it represents the full manifestation of whatever it is, the manifestation of the soul, the enlightenment, the fully opened lotus flower in every chakra. Drawing, there is a lotus flower, the petals that represent full opening of a specific chakra, ultimate achievement of the soul that can be in this body. So what would it mean if you dream about lotus? What does that mean? Because, our psyche talks to us in symbols. The conscious mind has a power to suppress the unconscious mind. In the neocortex, it overrides the other parts of our nervous system, and it's more in our conscious awareness, our thinking, our logic. But at night, neocortex go to sleep, and our unconscious gets the arena, gets the stage, and talks to us with the symbols, with the visuals, with the images, with the dreams. So what would it mean if you see a lotus in your dream? So first of all, it means that something is really blossoming for you, in you, that something comes to fruition. Something is unfolding in a very whole way. And in life you might go through a even very difficult period, and you can say like, I'm really having bad time, not difficult time. But then you see a flower, a beautiful flower, and in your dream, depending on the culture, in your dream it might not be necessarily lotus, it might be just any beautiful flower, fully opened. That actually means that on some other level in your life, your soul is blooming, your soul is unfolding, your soul is opening every petal, every aspect of it is called to manifestation. Also, there is an image of a bud. So what happens if you see a bud in an art or in a dream? That means that something is budding. It's like, even we say it's budding, which means that something is wanting to come and get fully opened. The next symbol that I would like to read about was also requested. It's the symbol of Swan. Here is what this book says about birds and flight in general. Flight has always represented freedom from the physical restrictions of earth-bound life and the ascent of the soul to the gods, either through mystical experience or through death. Birds share something of the same symbolic meaning, but because they come from the skies, they can also assume the role of messengers from higher powers, whether for good or ill. One dark and one light-colored bird in the branches of the tree of life represent the dual nature of reality, darkness and light, life and death. In a Hindu variant of this image, one bird eats the tree's fruit while the other watches, symbolizing the active approach to life, contrasting with the contemplative. While we are here, feathers. These are my feathers that I always play with. I love feathers. And that's what the book here says about feathers. For the Celts, the feathered cloak conferred on the wearer some of the qualities of the bird: lightness, speed, and the ability to travel to other worlds. For the native North Americans, feathers were symbolic of the Great Spirit and of the sun. For me, feathers always symbolized lightness and the ability to flight, to rise, and the lightness of touch, the lightness of existence. And it's interesting that in English the word light as the sunlight and light as the lightweight is the same word. So I can see how transparent this feather here. To me it's so beautiful, and it gives me shivers just, holding a feather and touching a feather. Okay, Swan. So in this book, he refers to the Greek myth of Leda and the swan. In Greek myth, Zeus took the form of a swan to seduce Leda, queen of Sparta, and the swan, therefore, came to symbolize love and the gods. It also stands for solitude, music and poetry, and its whiteness represents sincerity. So again, this description is quite short, but I did some research on swans, and this bird is adopted by European culture as a symbol of grace and beauty. Swans originate in Europe, and it's white swans. And just think about the grace of the neck and the fluffiness of the wing that is held upon the body of the swan, and the quiet grace of a bird sliding upon the water. So, of course, it was chosen as a representation of beauty and purity and love. Love because swans mate for life, and they choose their partner early on and stay with the same partner for the duration of their whole life. There are black swans that's been discovered pretty late by Europeans in 17th, 18th century. Black swans live in Australia, and when they were brought to Europe as a novelty and as amazing discovery, they became a representation of the opposite from white swan, the darkness, the menace, the evil. Swans are the biggest, largest, one of the largest birds that can fly, and they represent a messenger from gods, from higher forces. There's also an expression the swan song, which means something, a creation that is your last creation, the biggest, the most beautiful manifestation of your talent, your ability. The myth says that swans sing this beautiful song right before they die, which is not true in the reality, but that's what the myth says. So what might it mean if you see a bird in your dream, if you see a swan in your dream? First of all, you have to ask yourself, how does it feel? Does it feel like beautiful? Does it feel that you are in awe in the dream, watching the bird? What does the bird do? Because swans are also very protective of their territory and of their youngsters and of their partners. Swans can be quite ferocious and they are protectors. So if you see a swan gliding peacefully on the waters and the waters are peaceful and the swan is all grace and slow motion, that means that you are entering some kind of beautiful, peaceful, loving, balanced space inside yourself, in your life. It's a reflection of that. If the swan is coming and landing on the water, this is like a message. Something is coming up for you in this life. If it is a black swan, this might be a different meaning. It can be actually the beauty of your own shadow surfacing. Something that in the past may be considered as a not such a good part of yourself, but all of a sudden it appears in a graceful way and you can see it in different light. That's a possibility there. Or if the swan is ready to fight, which means that maybe you violated something, your higher values, your own higher values, the values of your own soul, and the swan is the messenger that you has to back off and respect the values of your own soul. So these are different scenarios how it can show up itself in your dreams. The next symbol I want to read about is Conch, which is a big, humongous shell that is used to create this very arresting, strong sound. Here's what it says about Conch. Here's a drawing. The conch. In Buddhism, the sound of the conch symbolizes the voice of Buddha. In Hindu belief, the conch is sacred to Vishnu and symbolizes the call to awaken from ignorance. So everywhere I looked, it says that conch symbolizes the call for awakening, the call for paying attention to something higher. It's used, sacred rituals as a call for the worshippers to come, gather, and refocus their attention from mundane to a higher level of consciousness. Let's think about what happens if you see a shell in your dream. There are these shells that you can put them to your ear and you can hear the sound of the waves crashing or very subtle white noise sound. What can that mean for you? It's the reminder of the water, where it comes from. And water always is a symbol for something very deep, deep unconscious, and going deep, and the sound that comes from that deep within. So that's the shell, is the reminder of that, is the connector. It's like almost like a little phone device. On the other end of it is your unconscious, this always like sea deep sound which is right there for you. The next symbol that we're gonna talk about, it's called Ouroborus. It's a very funny name, and it looks like a snake or a dragon biting its own tail. So here is a little picture right here of a snake biting its own tail. Ouroborus, the snake swallowing its own tail, brings together the symbolism of the circle and of the serpent. It is the water element equivalent of the phoenix, representing totality, rebirth, immortality, and the round of existence. It occurs in ancient Greece and Egypt. The other images of Ouroborus depicted as a dragon eating its own tail, and sometimes it's half white and half black, which is almost like a Chinese duality symbol. The circle, which is half white, half black, the polarization of the darkness and the light. As we go through our experiences, as we live, we are always consuming something. We are always consuming something outside of ourselves. We'll look at something, and the image comes into our eyes, through our eyes, into our nervous system, and gets digested by us. We touch, and we receive information through the touch. We receive information all the time. So it's like food. As we go through life, we eat our experiences. And imagine a being so huge that there is nothing outside of itself. So the consumption is of itself. That being starts consuming itself because there is nothing else to consume. And that's the wholeness. That's the humongous existence that is represented by the snake that's eating its own tail. And also the snake sheds its skin, which is rebirth, again the symbol for rebirth. And the book says that the snake is the water symbol, but to me the snake is so close to earth, and sliding and gliding and touching, and so close to earth. And if it's a dragon, the dragon is a fire symbol, the power of the fire. So there's so many elements included in this wholeness, in the symbol of the wholeness. So what would it mean if you dream of Ouroborus, if that image comes to you, the totality, the conclusion of some kind of circle, some kind of cycle, that now also the expression comes to mind, chasing your own tail, like there is nothing else there for you, and you ate all that's been available for you, and now you're just keep regurgitating the same material. The cycle is over and you're stuck in the same cycle over and over again. That might be a message of your unconscious if you see the Ouroborus symbol in your dream. Also, it depends on the feeling. It's like, what kind of feeling do you get if you see that in your dream? If is it fear? Is it uplifting feeling? So if it is uplifting, that it says maybe that you're entering into a cycle that is so big, so fulfilling, that it's gonna consume all of you. It requests everything from you to participate in that cycle, in that process, in that space that is being opened for you. So that might be another message from your unconscious. So see, the same symbol can mean different things in different contexts. If you encounter a symbol and all of a sudden that symbol stands out for you and you feel like it's talking to you, pay attention, listen. And of course, those symbols are archetypal, which means throughout the human history, the symbols were repeated as messengers, used by people to communicate with their own psyche or with each other, in art, in literature, in poetry, in songs, in dreams. But also they're very personalized. If they appear in your dream, if they appear for you. So in order to read those symbols for yourself, you need to pay attention how they appear, in what context they appear, and the feeling in your dream, is it like, oh my God, I'm seeing this, what does it mean? Is it fear? Or is it like, oh, what a beautiful thing? Or is it like, oh, it's such an intriguing thing, I want to know what it means. So these aspects, these feelings, they come with the symbol, they rise in us with the symbol. As the symbol is being shown, the feeling that envelopes that symbol is also a messenger for you. You know, it's like, it's unknown, I'm entering the unknown. It can be a fear, it's like, oh my God, I don't know anything about that. Or it can be an awe, it's like, oh my God, it's so beautiful, it's new, it's fresh. So I think it's enough material for tonight, and I hope that you're gonna sleep and see interesting dreams. And if in your dream you will see something that you'll be curious about, you can comment underneath this video and ask to talk about specific symbol that you saw in your dream. Something, it will be a very interesting conversation. And I will continue reading from this book, and we'll make a whole series of videos about symbols. So have a good night's rest, and let me know what you dream about.